started to flood, he moved our one truck down the block and then pulled our other truck onto our grass, but we probably lost 2 of our cars.
Oh my gosh. Well, at least you have your health and your whole family is together. There are some firefighters we interviewed with the Moonachie Fire Department. They said they've been up for, almost 27 hours now just helping people. They haven't had a meal, one of them said, for 16 hours. And they went inside to get some hot coffee. They went right back out on their truck that they were on to try and do some more rescues as more and more people, as we go right down here, Danny. This is what we're talking about, you guys. This is another National Guard truck. The New Jersey State Police are assisting the National Guard. And this is how many people get out of one of those. Pets, about 10, 12 people. We've seen a lot of elderly people. They're coming here. They're trying to. They can get some medical attention here. They can get something hot to drink, and they can get dry. And most importantly, they can have a place to just be, out of the rain and kind of recoup, because it's been so harrowing for them. They did not expect this, and they had no time to prepare. Basically, see the plastic bags that they're holding in their hands. They had time to grab a plastic bag, some of them, before they were told to get on these National Guard trucks and get out of there. It's been very scary and very touching to see the reactions when they get here. I mean, they really just can't stop the tears from flowing. They're happy that they've escaped with their lives, but they have no idea what they're going to go back to in their homes. That is the very latest live from Teterboro. I'm Nina Pineda, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you. Nina Pineda in Teterboro. And thinking about the psychological stress that young people, children, adults are going to be going through in the days and weeks ahead is really overwhelming. We are in the aftermath phase of this horrible, terrible storm, and today beginning to understand the magnitude in so many ways that it is having on all of us.
We're going to hear so many heartfelt and harrowing stories, and Nina just showing just a couple of them right there. We are going to go ahead and take a quick break. Our colleagues, Bill Ritter and Sade Better-in-Law, will be taking over our continuous coverage of Sandy's aftermath right after this.
I speak European, you know. Take this fascinating Moolah yogurt. Fruit up means fruit up. Creamy yogurt down below. Delectable layer of fruity, moussey uppiness on top. Fruit up, as the Europeans say in their language.
Wow, you really are bilingual.
Moolah, the European for yummy.
The Radio City Christmas Spectacular celebrates the 85th anniversary of the Rockettes.
85 years of inspiring audiences.
Of memories and surprises.
Lifting spirits. Kicking the holidays into high gear. And making the most wonderful time of the year
even better.
The Radio City Christmas Spectacular, presented by Chase. Get your tickets today at RadioCityChristmas.com.
It's going to be spectacular.
You don't have to buy a discount mattress anymore. Right now at Ashley Furniture Home Store's lowest prices of the year. Save up to $600 on Tempur-Pedic mattresses or no interest till 2017. And Sunday. Why sacrifice quality? Shop #1 first. Ashley Furniture Home Store.
Eligible for Medicare, that's a good thing, but it doesn't cover everything. Only about 80% of your Part B medical expenses. The rest is up to you. So consider an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company. Like all standardized Medicare supplement plans, they help save you up to thousands in out-of-pocket costs. Call today to request a free decision guide. With these types of plans, you'll be able to visit any doctor or hospital that accepts Medicare patients. Plus, there are no networks, and you'll never need a referral to see a specialist. Join the millions who have already enrolled in the only Medicare supplement insurance plans endorsed by AARP and provided by United Healthcare Insurance Company, which has over 30 years of experience behind it. With all the good years ahead, look for the experience and commitment to go the distance with you. Call now to request your free decision guide.
This is a special edition of Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Sandy's Aftermath.
Sandy's aftermath and big problems persist. Dramatic rescues in Little Ferry. Residents pulled from their homes after rushing floodwaters strand scores of homeowners. Massive evacuations of patients at a hospital in the Kips Bay section of Manhattan after a generator failed. As many as 20 newborns taken out.
Boardwalks buckled up and down the Jersey Shore. This is Long Branch, New Jersey. The storm leaving more than 2 million in that state without power. On Staten Island, a stunning sight of Sandy's fury, a 20-foot storm surge ripping through a 700-ton tanker. That's not the tanker, of course. Those are rescues at Little Ferry. By the way, The big tanker from its moorings, it was ripped and dropping it right on a Staten Island street. And good afternoon, everyone, at 2:05. I'm Bill Ritter with continuing coverage.
And I'm Sade Bedarenwa, and we do continue our coverage of Sandy's aftermath. New information is coming in by the minute on the damage and the recovery. So let's get you the latest information. The MTA says the East River bridges are open, and the Port Authority has reopened the George Washington, Goethals, and Bayonne bridges, but asked drivers to avoid them unless absolutely necessary. The Holland and Brooklyn Battery tunnels remain closed at this point. As for airports, Governor Cuomo says they hope to have JFK reopened by tomorrow, but LaGuardia suffered too much damage to open tomorrow. We'll keep a close eye on that one, and Newark airports remain closed.
Meanwhile, a note about the New York City schools. They will be closed once again tomorrow. That's the third day in a row. There are, sadly, at least 20 deaths in our area so far, half of those in New York City, many of them from falling trees. And across New York, across New Jersey, across Connecticut, in all, nearly 5 million customers, that's millions and millions of people, are now without power. There is some good news. New York City says it's going to resume limited bus service at 5 o'clock tonight. Hopes to have full bus service backed up by tomorrow. Fingers crossed on that. And the subways will remain shut down indefinitely. The New York Stock Exchange will reopen again, finally, tomorrow.
But at least people have a place to try to start getting around, getting their lives back to normal. Well, let's go to Tony Yates, who is live in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. And Tony, what's the scene there?
You know what, first, Sade, I want to say about this scene, we are so lucky down here in Point Pleasant Beach, at least at this point, as we hear Nina Pineda up in Little Ferry talking about all the rescues and the devastation up there. I don't think there are many rescues that were needed down here. People don't have electricity. They don't know what to do. So what they're doing is they're jumping in their cars and they're looking to find out, you know, what happened and what they can take a look at, what they can take pictures at. And a lot of people, I mean hundreds of people, actually came to where we are. This is Broadway, right at the marina in Point Pleasant. And I can say for several hundred yards, there are boats on the sidewalk, boats in the street, and there are people walking up and down just kind of taking pictures of that. And I can also say New Jersey Transit has been out here because we're right here at the railroad tracks, and you can see this is from the storm surge last night. All kinds of debris washed up on the train tracks, and the New Jersey Transit guy who came out here, he just looked at it, shook his head, took some pictures. He stayed out for about 45 minutes or so, and then he left. But there are boats. The storm surge sent those yachts right up there on top of the train tracks, and you can see how low the water is right now. That's kind of typical. That's kind of common where it usually is, and so it really had to go very, very high to get those boats up there. Now, police have access to Point Pleasant Beach blocked off. They're saying you can go east of the train tracks, and if you're already there, but if you are, you know, near the coast and you leave, you can't come back. So we took some pictures of what's on the other side, what's east of these train tracks, and here's what we're seeing back there. There's lots of flooded streets in every direction, down trees on homes. The power, of course, is out. The wires are down, and many people who stayed east of the tracks are just checking on the homes of their friends who did decide to leave. The water was rising really fast. At some point, did you get a little uncomfortable with that?
Yeah, we kept checking out on the street, and it just kept rising and rising, and then all of a sudden it was right at our door, but it didn't make it in.
Oh, a few inches to spare.
Yeah. As you guys have been walking around, what are you seeing? What does it compare to?
Devastation. Doesn't compare to anything. Bad as it gets.
Right. So what are you going to do for the next few days? Are you guys going to be okay being on this side, or?
We don't know. We don't know how long the power is going to be out. We don't know how long it's going to take to clear everything, so we're just going to wait and see.
And we can see they did bring some heavy equipment back there. They have lifted at least 2 boats out of the street, so they are working to do that. And like we said, there were crowds of people out here earlier just taking pictures, walking along the train tracks, which turned out to be pretty dangerous. And so the police were able to get them out of this area. But I want to swing around and show you police right here at the train tracks. Instead of letting people walk up even to the tracks, now they're stopping them. They're not allowing them to park along 35 any longer because they know that's what they're going to do. They're just going to get out and come walking over here. And we've seen emergency equipment trying to get through. And earlier they were saying, okay, you guys have to move out of the way because we've got to get these people through. So instead of going through that headache, now they're stopping them from coming over here at all. So that's the latest here. Again, we are glad to say that we haven't heard about any major rescues, any people in danger, and that's a good thing based on, you know, what I'm hearing from my colleagues. Back to you guys.
That is good news. And, you know, Tony, I'm just struck by that shot behind you along the tracks. Large boats. This really gives you an idea of what crews are having to deal with. You know, when people start to get impatient saying, you know, when is transportation going to be up and running? These are the scenes that we have to remember.
Yeah, but you know, the thing out here, too, are the people saying we have never seen it like this. One lady said it hasn't been like this since way back in 1962. So they're frustrated that they don't have the electricity. They're frustrated that they probably didn't plan as much as they could. There are some people who are frustrated that they can't get to their houses up Point Pleasant Beach because the police won't let them get back on. But everybody's saying, you know, they understand. I mean, this is devastation that they have never seen before.
Gates reporting from Point Pleasant. Tony, thank you so much.
Meanwhile, speaking of rescues, we about 30 miles to the east of that, Little Ferry, we have not seen rescues like we've seen today here in that little town in New Jersey. Sarah Wallace has been there all morning for us. Sarah?
And Bill and Sade, they just pulled this woman out of a house, an elderly woman. She's right here now in this rescue boat with the rescuers, and just tell me how she's doing and what the situation was.
She's doing fine. She's not ambulatory right now. She can't walk. But she's in good spirits. She's not injured. And we're just waiting to reunite her with her daughter and get her to an evacuation center.
What was it like? You mentioned it was a second floor, and she had to get her out of the center.
Right. She was on the second floor of the home, and we had to carry her out, and the water was about 3 or 4 feet deep at the area.
Yeah, it's receded for the moment, but now we're concerned about high tide later on.
Exactly. High tide's going to come back in about 8 o'clock or so, and now you got that to worry about again.
All right. Well, thanks, and I'm sure you're taking good care of her, and she's going to be okay.
We're trying.
It's really been the most dramatic situation you can imagine here in Little Ferry. Let me take you back over here again. We're seeing another National Guard vehicle. This is what we've been seeing all day long. They are alternating with the land vehicles and the large pontoon boats, as well as the airboats, getting people out. We have actually seen hundreds of people, Nina Pineda, talking about over in Teterboro, where they are now being taken to shelters. But one of the things that I think is really worth mentioning, you saw this elderly woman here, and a lot of people have elderly people who live with them, and they hesitated leaving because they thought it was much better to take care of the people in their homes. And then this morning, it just became too much, and the rescue crews, I'm actually going to move over here for a second so we can get by. The rescue crews basically came to the door and said, you know, grab what you can, get out. We've been seeing people with their plastic bags, some people bare feet, taking their children, their pets, whatever they can get to get out of the house. And it has been going on all day long. Really a dramatic situation. You just heard the concern again later on is going to be high tide. The water has receded a little bit, but later on they're concerned about what is going to happen with high tide. A lot of people voluntarily left because they were hearing the warnings about high tide, and they just didn't know what was going to happen later on.
Sarah, I have a question
so
for
let's
you.
just
Sarah, you've been following this for hours now. There are so many rescues that have been going on. We've been, you just showed us an elderly woman being rescued. I know there were young children, women who were being rescued earlier. Any idea how many more rescues that they have?
Well, that's a really good question. We thought it was going to be a couple of hundred, and they just keep coming. It's a little more sporadic now. For a while there, as you saw with our video, it was just seemingly constant. Actually, you know what? Let me just walk you over here. Mike, let's just take a walk. You can see there is yet another raft coming up past that SUV that is stuck in the middle of that street, and just behind it, you can see a couple of rescuers. They're paddling the boat right now, bringing up yet another group of people who were rescued, and it's just been constant. So it kind of lessened a little bit, and now it seems like we're getting more people, and we really don't have any idea. There are a couple of thousand here that have been rescued so far, it appears. Nina mentioned that there were a couple of hundred over at the Teterboro staging area, the shelter, and look, we're getting more people coming off. This gentleman here, he's got his shoes, his tennis shoes on. He's got the plastic bags. We're seeing people right now coming off. basically with whatever they can carry. So it's just an amazing scene. And basically what will happen is they'll come off these vehicles, get put on another vehicle, which will then take them to the shelter. And then these crews will go back in and see if there's anybody else who needs to be rescued.
And there's something of a deadline, Sarah, right? There is something of a deadline. The sun sets in about 4 hours. There's no electricity there. And they got to get this done. I assume there's no electricity there.
There's absolutely no electricity. Yeah. And I got to tell you, cell service is very sporadic, so that's the other concern. People who are not getting out right now may have trouble getting out later and getting in touch with anybody later if they need to, to get out. We're seeing an awful lot of people with their pets. That was that situation with Hurricane Katrina, and we know how heart-wrenching that was. People are absolutely not going to leave their animals. Obviously, the first priority is kids and all of that. But, of course, people here with their pets, and these guys are just doing an amazing job. Look behind. There's yet, another land vehicle, another 5-ton truck coming out, trying to get through the area. It's just a constant here of what we're seeing of these guys going in and out and making sure that anybody who is stuck in their home gets out safely and hopefully can get the care that they need over at the shelter. It is just, I'm telling you, it's nonstop. We thought it was easing off here, but it's just an incredible sight here and seemingly constant. So, people getting off these vehicles, carrying what they can, getting out, a lot of them frightened, a lot of them, now cold, and it's just really something. Ma'am, let me just, can I talk to you, sir? I noticed you got your dog here. How you doing? How was the situation when you were?
Total loss. We have water up to the second floor. Tree went down, hit the back, the deck, everything.
Now, did you decide to stay in or just couldn't get out? What was the situation?
Couldn't get out. About 6 foot of water.
And the fear, I'm sure, when that sound and the crash.
Especially, I didn't even know I didn't see no rain. I don't know where the water came from.
And your dog is just shaking. You poor guy. Traumatized. Well, listen, get to some shelter. Hopefully get something warm for you guys. Okay. Thanks a lot. As we said, very dramatic. Lot of touching stories. A lot of people lost everything. They took what they could. But, at least their lives have been saved here. And an amazing job by these rescue crews, honestly.
You really showed it to us all day today, Sarah. These surprising rescues still going on in Little Ferry. And as I said, about 4 hours till sunset, and that's going to be problematic. It really is. It really is.
Well, one thing that Sarah brought up in that live shot was that a lot of people were concerned about high tide. So let's go to Jeff Smith. And Jeff, can you give people in that area an indication of what they can expect tonight?
Well, I just want to show you a little bit about the geography of Little Ferry and why they were flooding and the extent of the storm surge from Sandy. I mean, the surge came right up into New York Harbor and then moved up the Passaic River into the Hackensack River into the Little Ferry area. And the high tide this morning, we had moderate to even major flooding in some areas. This afternoon into this evening, it's going to be a minor flooding event at worst. The problem is in Little Ferry, you have a lot of low-lying areas, so the water gets into these low-lying areas, and it has a hard time flowing back out once it's in there. And to give you an idea of just the extent of the surge in this situation, we had flood warnings earlier this morning for the Catskill Creek because of tidal flooding. This is up in Greene County, north of our viewing area, north of Ulster County. That's how far north the surge spread all the way up the Hudson River. Just a remarkable storm. We're still getting a couple of rain bands from it right now, and with the rain bands, a couple of gusty winds. Sandy superlatives, well, there's a laundry list of them. Landfall pressure, 27.92 inches at Atlantic City, New Jersey. We've been looking into this. Right now, we think that this is the lowest pressure ever recorded at a land station north of Cape Hatteras, making Sandy one of the most intense storms ever recorded since we started keeping these pressure records. Highest wind gust, 96 miles per hour at Eaton's Neck, New York, yesterday evening. The highest surge, 12.5 feet at Kings Point, New York, during the evening hours. Storm reports, there's a lot of them. We can't even go into all the details because there were hundreds of them during the night last night. And all those dots on the map represented either trees down, high wind gusts, storm surge, flooding, rescues taking place, that sort of thing. 41-mile-per-hour wind gusts last hour in Newark with one of these little rain bands that has moved on by. Again, just reviewing some of the peak wind gusts, 90 miles per hour at Islip. We already talked about Eaton's Neck, 79-mile-per-hour wind gust at JFK. At one point yesterday, when Sandy was really coming to a head during the brunt of the storm, all the major airports were reporting wind gusts up and above 70 miles per hour. White Plains had a 72-mile-per-hour gust. Montclair, New Jersey, 88 miles per hour. Clifton, 80 miles per hour. These areas a little bit inland as well, so these were matching some of the coastal numbers that we saw. Bayonne had a 77 mile per hour gust. Bridgeport, Connecticut, 76 miles per hour. And even up in parts of eastern New England, over by Cape Cod, parts of Rhode Island had wind gusts up and above 80 miles per hour. So it's such a big wind field as it moved inland. And it made that dramatic left-hand turn that all the computer models converged on, and they did an excellent job showing it moving into New Jersey. One of our computer models even showed that happening a week ahead of time, so it's one of the most well-predicted storms in recent memory. Right now it's over western parts of Pennsylvania. They're still getting blizzard conditions over West Virginia. They've had reports of 22 to 28 inches of snow near Pocahontas County, West Virginia. Right now, we're getting a couple of rain showers still moving on through. With each rain shower, you can get a quick gust of wind, and then it might brighten up for a little while, and then you get another rain shower moving on by. These will tend to reduce in intensity during the next 24 hours and become more scattered. So the weather conditions are going to be improving as we begin the cleanup from Sandy, which right now is located over south-central Pennsylvania, eventually moving north through the eastern Great Lakes, which, by the way, have incredible waves right now. We have 20-foot waves happening on places like Lake Ontario, Lake Erie, also the south side of Lake Michigan. We have big waves crashing into places like Chicago and Gary, Indiana. There, by the way, the landfall point of Sandy, we were in the right front quadrant of the storm, really the worst part of the hurricane. And waves right now offshore are still 12 feet near the entrance of Raritan Bay, 16 feet off of the Jersey shore. And this is a wave height animation that we did during the past 36 hours. You can just see the water being funneled right toward the tri-state area, funneled right toward Raritan Bay, where we had some of our highest storm surge values with this system. Again, improving during the next 24 hours, though. Mostly cloudy, still breezy tonight. A couple of showers around 51. It's breezy with a passing shower, 55 for tomorrow. Here's your AccuWeather 7-day. It's more of the same on Thursday, maybe another shower on Friday, and then we clear things out in time for the weekend. Might try to cloud things back up by Monday. So things are improving, but there's a big, big cleanup ahead of us. Sade, Bill, back over to you.
Yeah, we're still worried, obviously, about the flooding up. It was interesting description you had, Jeffrey, about how it went up the river and then just just hit Little Ferry just very, very hard. And we're going to expect some more of that tonight. Well, not as bad, fortunately. We want to take some shots right now of a survey that's happening. This is Newscopter 7. It's over Townsend Inlet in South Jersey near Wildwood, and we're looking at other helicopters. We don't know whether they're government helicopters or private. We assume there's some sort of, I should say, government or National Guard, government or military, surveying damage along the shore in South Jersey, and it's as bad as it is up here. As you can see, it still looks raw. It has been a devastating aftermath as well, and they're surveying damage down there.
You know, we're talking about just the scope of this, of what has happened here and the damage left behind. You know, early estimates right now are putting the cost of Hurricane Sandy at $20 billion. We know that Hurricane Irene was close to $16 billion.
Yeah, it's sure to go up from there, and that's just the cleanup costs. What about the economic loss? The economic loss impact, that's really what is going to be huge, billions and billions of dollars.
Certainly. Well, let's go to Phil Lipoff now. We're seeing a shot of him. He's in Long Branch, New Jersey. And Phil, it doesn't look so good behind you.
No, and you know what, Sade and Bill, exactly what you're talking about. This is going to be millions of dollars and thousands of man-hours to fix this. I want to give you an idea of what's happened along the shore. This right behind me is a bench. This bench was crushed by this piece of the boardwalk here in Pier Village that was literally lifted up by the force of the storm, of the waves, and moved, I'd say, 15 or 20 feet. John, if you can come over with me, I want to show everybody. Look on the other side of the boardwalk. That's where the boardwalk rested, over there. And John, if you pan a bit to the right, you can just see how far off the path this boardwalk is. And I'm told this goes all the way down in sections, all the way down to Belmar. I just interviewed, and I'll bring it to you in a little while because we just shot the tape and we're going to feed it in. Interviewed a member of the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is out here surveying this damage. They're going up and down looking for flooding and pollution and damage, and boy, have they found a lot of it. Look at how far the ocean is away from this now. When Sandy came in, all of this was covered. The waves smashed into the boardwalk, lifted the boardwalk up, And unlike what we're seeing north of here in New Jersey, where Sarah Wallace has been showing us these amazingly dramatic rescues, everybody got away from this area, evacuated this village because it is right on the ocean, and they knew this was going to happen. And let me give you one last look at why it was such a good idea that everybody got out of here. You saw that crushed bench over on the other side? This piece of the boardwalk lifted up, and take a look under here. This is another bench. The boardwalk landed on the bench and crushed it, and now it's sitting up like this. And this is the scene we are seeing all the way down the coast, all the way to Belmar, and we're in Long Branch. It is just amazing. It is going to take a lot of money and a lot of man hours to fix what Sandy did here on the Jersey Shore, guys.
And the damage left behind. Phil Lipoff.
Do we still have Phil there? Is Phil gone?
We lost him.
We lost him. Okay, well, obviously, listen, the public works part of this, billions and billions of dollars. Phil, are you there? Okay, we're going to move on.
There he is. There he
Phil,
is.
what we're seeing right there, what you're seeing in Long Branch, repeated up and down the coast, not just in New Jersey, but along New York City and the beaches, the south-facing beaches of Long Island. This is where some of the billions of dollars are. It's hard to estimate that it's going to be as low as $20 billion.
Yeah, I don't doubt that estimate for a second, Bill. As I said, I just talked to a member of the Coast Guard, and he's just beginning his survey of this damage. And I said to him, you know, they're talking about billions of dollars, and he just looked, he was kind of this blank look on his face like, yeah. And I said, have you ever seen anything like this? The damage amazing you? And he said, it is amazing. The power of the storm was amazing. They still, the Coast Guard, nobody really has a solid grasp. We're throwing out numbers, but no one really knows what it's going to take.
And it's certainly going to take weeks to even assess the damage.
Oh, yeah, and that's what the Coast Guard's doing out here right now. They have crews all along the coast. It's not just the Coast Guard, you know, the Public Works and the cities and the towns, the governor, the president's even watching what's going on here. Everybody is assessing the damage, but it's slow going because there's this part, and then even just this is, what is it, about 60 or 70 feet of boardwalk. They have to come up here, they have to figure out how far off it is, how much it's going to take, all the sand they've lost. There's so much that goes into replenishing boardwalk and beach that has been destroyed by a storm.
Nothing worse than the damage of water. You said the president's looking. We just got a note that he was in a conference call today with more than a dozen governors, including Governor Christie and Cuomo and Malloy, and also about a handful of mayors, including Mayor Michael Bloomberg and Cory Booker. And, you know, they are assessing this, and this is going to be a huge government effort to help coordinate the cleanup here.
Absolutely, and you know, it's those federal funds that are so needed. You know, 75% of the costs are paid for by the federal government.
Right, Schumer said that earlier. It was interesting.
And then you've got that other 25% that's split up between state and your locality. So,
Phil, you were going to say something? Okay, all right. Water creates a whole bunch of damage. So does the power outages. And we have millions and millions of people without power, and it's going to be, we're told, several days before some of them get, or even longer before some of them get it back. We have a new desk in the Eyewitness Newsroom. We're calling it the Power Desk because it's going to be quite a week for getting back power in our area. Heather O'Rourke is there with the latest on the power numbers for our area. Heather?
Bill, Sade, you know how difficult it can be to be without power. So we do have some numbers to tell you now. In New Jersey, over 2.5 million customers are without power. New Jersey residents can call PSE&G's customer service line 1-800-436-PSEG. In New York City, over 600,000 customers without power. Long Island, 900,000. Westchester, 180,000 customers. Con Ed customers can call 1-800-75-CON ED. LIPA, 1-800-490-0075. In Connecticut, we have close to 600,000 customers without electricity. Connecticut Light and Power toll-free number 800-286-2000. United Illuminating Company 1-800-7-CALL-UI. Heather O'Rourke reporting from the Power Desk.
Thank you so much. You know, I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking about all of the rescue efforts that have gone underway and all of the National Guard troops that have been out there, people who are doing, just volunteering to try to help with rescues. And I know everybody out there is just so appreciative of your efforts, and we just want to say a shout out to all of you guys who are just making the lives much better for people.
There's no question. A lot of people volunteering. Also, our crews out there who have been out there all night, last night and today, trying to document it and make show you information, make decisions to keep your family safe. We want to take some more shots. You know, yesterday we were saying when our newscopter can get up in the air again, it couldn't yesterday, obviously. When we see the damage, we're going to be more surprised even than what we saw on the ground, and that is definitely been the case. This is in Townsend Inlet. It's in South New Jersey. As they're surveying damage there, these beaches in the South New Jersey shore just took such a large hit. I was struck as we look at some of this damage by the frank talk today by Governor Christie, who had a news conference, and Governor Cuomo as well. And he was, I think Governor Cuomo summed it up when he's talked about the weather changes. He said, anyone who thinks that there's not a dramatic change in weather patterns is denying reality. We have a new reality and old infrastructures and old systems. And it seems to me in the middle of the political campaign, all sorts of issues come up and whatnot, but we are just, we have aging infrastructure. We're seeing this in the city of New York, and we're seeing it in all the outlying areas. And until we deal with that, if this happens again, we're going to be in the same situation.
Well, Bill, let's go down to Jim Dolan, who's in Atlantic City, and what a different scene it is today. Jim?
Hey, Sade, it really is. People are actually out in the streets starting to clean up now. Last night, this place was chest deep in water for much of Atlantic City. Today, the water has receded. The winds have started to die down quite a bit, although we have had some strong winds today. But they have died down now. We had some rain earlier. That has stopped. It appears that much of this storm has moved on. We want to show you exactly how powerful this storm was, and you won't have any doubt after you see this video. We've talked about the boardwalk, and first of all, the boardwalk, for the most part, near the casinos is in pretty good shape. There's some debris on it, some dangling steel in some parts, but mostly it's in good shape. But down the road a little bit, down the coast just a little, still in Atlantic City, there are whole gaps in the boardwalk now. Sandy took with it huge pieces of the boardwalk, not really where the tourists go, but down. A lot of the people in Atlantic City do use this part of the boardwalk. Huge gaps missing. And where are those big slabs of wood now? We found them 3 blocks inland on Atlantic Avenue, and they were in the middle of the road. The water took these huge slabs, huge, enormous, heavy slabs of wood, and just deposited them in the middle of the street. Some of those slabs of wood, some of those parts of the boardwalk actually shattered windows in storefronts and shops as they floated down, and caused an awful lot of damage here in Atlantic City. Just an enormous amount of power it took to rip those pylons off of their founding and to bring them, to float them inland. So a lot of damage here. Again, the casinos are, for the most part, stable, and they were not damaged a great deal, but a lot of homes were damaged. Just a lot of trouble here in Atlantic City.
Jim, I'm thinking about the small business owner. It's costing the casinos about $5 million a day from Hurricane Sandy. And, for these small businesses, what do they do to rebuild?
Well, I talked to a guy named Gus who owns, near as I could tell, it was sort of an auto repair shop. There was a lot of other stuff going on in there, but most of his business was auto repair. And the foundation of his small store, of his small business, was definitely damaged. There's no doubt about the fact that he's going to have to spend an awful lot of money to get that fixed. He says he's not properly insured. It's a small business, and so it's going to take weeks and months and all the money he can get together to be able to fix that business. Now, I just want to point out, I know we've been talking a lot, and I don't mean to be Pollyanna about this, but we have been talking a lot about the cost of all this, and it is going to cost an awful lot of money. Some of that money is going to come from the federal government, but I just want to also point out it's also going to create a whole bunch of jobs. People are going to be employed doing all this extra work that has to be done. In the beginning, it'll just be cleanup, but in the long term, there'll be a lot of construction work that has to be done. And so it will create a lot of jobs. I know it's a lot of heartache, and I don't mean to minimize any of that, and a lot of cost, but there is a side benefit to that, and it will create a number of jobs for people in the community, in the area.
Certainly a valid point.
There's no question. I don't think you're being Pollyannish about it. The problem, of course, is that it's going to cost taxpayers money to fund those jobs, but at least people will be put to work. There's a lot of rebuilding, and maybe, Jim, we'll rebuild in a way that protects this stuff. As we're looking over your shoulder, Jim, the split screen is on Wildwood, New Jersey. Some of the damage there from Newscopter 7, it's just south of you. It's just absolutely, actually a little bit north of you, devastating, just devastating. The roofs of houses torn off and the foundations, you know, clearly soaked by the storm surge. But it is going to, it's going to take a lot of jobs, but it's going to take a long time. And if we don't do this right again, if we can't rebuild so we prevent some of this, we haven't really learned much of a lesson.
Exactly right, Bill. And let me just show you one point here that speaks to what you were just talking about. You know, if you live your life thinking that you're not going to have a storm like this, you will build in one way. But if you understand that it's possible, you may build in an altogether different way. Over here, we have some scaffolding, and you see there are men up there trying to secure that scaffolding to the building. It's been hanging on precariously all day long. You can see it shaking. I have to say I'm very surprised that it survived this storm. But those men are up there right now securing it, trying to secure it to the building. They can't take it down. There's still enough wind so that is dangerous. And you would never build a scaffolding like that with the understanding that there could be a storm of this magnitude that would come through Atlantic City. Now, obviously, it also has to do with the whole construction of buildings. You have to be aware of that. Here in Atlantic City, maybe a block and a half from the shore, they have a whole new development of houses, maybe 6, 7 years old, maybe. And let me tell you, they did not do well in the storm. There was a lot of damage to those homes. I'm not sure if you had it to do again, knowing the kind of storm that is possible here, not sure you'd build the homes in the same way or even in the same place. So, you know, you learn from that kind of experience, and hopefully you do better the next time.
You know, Jim, you may not have the answer to this, but, you know, I'm looking behind you, and you were talking about that scaffold there, and you were surprised that it still withstood the winds last night. Yeah. You know, a lot of different agencies have to work together here, not only dealing with rescues, but structures. You know, is there anything that's going to endanger the lives of people? Any idea what the manpower is for something like that in your area? And, you know, what are officials doing to coordinate those efforts block by block?
Well, they went through Atlantic City almost house by house earlier. You can see a National Guard truck right over there. Those are some of the people who have been involved in this today. That's going through right now. They had to go through parts of Atlantic City house by house to make sure people weren't stuck in there and didn't have needs that and they, you know, people who couldn't get out. So that has been going through. They had enough people with the National Guard to do that today. But again, it's the kind of thing where if you're planning, you're going to arrange to have those people in place so you don't have to scramble to do that at the last minute. Keep in mind, you know, there's this whole controversy between the mayor and the governor, the mayor of Atlantic City and the governor of New Jersey over whether people were really encouraged to stay here, sort of lulled into a sense of complacency before the storm. A lot of people said, you know, that they sort of did feel like, well, the mayor said it was going to be safe, so that they stayed. One guy told me today in what is maybe my favorite quote of the day, "I'm not happy I stayed, but I'm real happy I survived the storm." So, you know, you change your actions based on the information you get.
Mayor Langford today responded to Governor Christie and said, I didn't ask people to do anything irresponsible. Lee Goldberg has joined us, Jim, because he wants to talk about, you know, some of the things you were talking about, planning for this kind of thing. You know, it's nice to think about this. Is it possible to plan? It is. We know it's possible. How much can you really defend against a monster, you know, once-in-a-lifetime kind of storm like this?
This tells us we have to recalibrate everything. We have to recalibrate what level of storm we consider as maybe not normal, but we consider as, you know, can happen now. You know, when you now sort of break the ceiling of what we've seen in terms of the intensity of these storms, now we have to make a whole new scale that we have to go by. I mean, this took the unprecedented route. This was the unprecedented strength. This is the storm that we haven't seen in a couple hundred years of weather records. I mean, it's all changed now. This will all change now that it's hit the most populated part of the country.
We're looking at Wildwood, New Jersey, which is south of where Jim is in Atlantic City. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, I was just going to say, Lee, the governor did, Governor Cuomo did talk about that today, didn't he? He said we now have to consider the possibility of this kind of extreme weather, not routine, but possible, and you have to take that into your consideration, into your planning.
We've been talking about it for a while, and every time we say, you know, we have this extreme weather. We don't just have a snowstorm, we have a monster storm. We don't have rain, we have a lot of rain. We have thunderstorms, we have tornadoes coming in, and we've seen it coming for a couple of years, and now all of a sudden, a Cat 1 comes ashore and does this kind kind of damage that you thought a Cat 4 or 5 or even greater would do.
Right, and this is certainly something you have to think about when it comes to budgets, you know, allocating more money into your budgets to handle these issues. You know, one thing I remember hearing one of the officials say was that Hurricane Irene just happened, and at least it told us what we needed to prepare for.
It was a warning shot across the bows, no question about it. And I mean, Jeff and I were talking about Breezy Point. Breezy Point had a tornado this year. Has now had incredible surge with, you know, a storm, whether it was hurricane or post-tropical.
80 homes on fire.
Fires. You know what I mean? All this natural disaster hitting this area. Yeah, it's a complete different way of thinking. And actually, that's what really reminded me was the way the governor spoke about it.
And to show what a levelizer this is and how, you know, everyone's going to get wet, one of the homes destroyed at Breezy Point was Congressman Bob Turner. Right. Who ran against Senator Gillibrand in the primary, didn't make it, and now he's retiring. But he's a sitting congressman. His house was destroyed. So this, you know, everyone gets wet in situations like this. It's a great democratizer, unfortunately.
We are also talking about the sun is going to set. They're really racing against the clock in terms of rescues because the whole dynamics begin to change. Walk us through. At
this point, the weather shouldn't be getting in the way anymore. I mean, it's more of a nuisance situation right now. It's the occasional shower, a little bit of brightening. The sunset is before 6 o'clock now. Of course, we fall back this weekend. We had the clocks will be turned back this weekend. So the days are continuing to get shorter. It'll be cooler behind the system. One thing, you know, the storm, I'm not sure if our weather computer is available, but the Storm Sandy has turned the temperatures upside down across the Northeast. It's remarkable. It is now 70 in, I think it was Burlington, Vermont, or Bangor, Maine, and it's in the low 40s across parts of the Virginias. And, I mean, look at how it's turned upside down. There you go. 69 in Burlington, and it's 43 down in Louisville. So the whole thing, it's not only rearranged the landscape, but it's changed the weather map, you know, temporarily, and things all, you know, have to come into balance. But, you know, this is what's happening with things now. But right now, the weather, the wind gusts continue to die down. The coastal flooding and the flooding that'll even go into, let's say, Little Ferry this afternoon as we look at the Hackensack River, that will abate. That should be lighter and minor. You just have to get that water out of the low-lying area.
If Jim Dolan is still on the line, I want to say, Jim, thank you. Great reporting. And we want you to keep us apprised of that scaffolding up there. We saw you last night saying, I don't know how that scaffolding is going to stay up. Unfortunately, it did. We're hitting the same situation with a crane in Midtown. How it stayed up, we don't know, but we're glad it did. Thankfully it did. But keep us posted on that scaffolding because it looks pretty precarious up there.
You bet.
Okay. Jim Dolan, Atlantic City.
Thanks, Jim. Well, now we want to go to Kristen Thorne, who is in Bayshore, Long Island, and
not much power there, but there's a Dunkin' Donuts that we assume you're there because they may have some power to make coffee and donuts. But I mean, otherwise, why would you be there, right?
I think donuts this time around would be a pretty good thing.
We don't have Kristen quite yet.
Can you guys see
me?
Yeah, we can see you.
You're up and running,
Here we
Kristen.
go. Can you guys see me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Sorry, we're getting set up. We were just getting set up.
Well, take it, Kristen.
All right, so here we are at the Dunkin' Donuts in Bayshore. And here's the deal. You've got tons of people lined up. And I know we've been showing you all these dramatic pictures. And we're not trying to take away from that. But this is part of what's going on, too. People just want their coffee, their donuts. Wait to see how packed this place is. We're going to go over here. Can you guys sort of like, let me see. Can we make our way through here just a little bit? There we go. There we go. Excuse us. Excuse us. Thank you. Look at this in here. Oh, here are the girls I was going to talk to. Here you are. Hello. All right. So what are you doing here?
I'm trying to get some coffee.
And you don't have power? What's going on at home?
Yeah, we have no power, but we're not flooded at all, though.
Yeah,
we're not flooded.
Oh, you're not flooded?
No,
okay.
she is.
Who is? Oh,
She's by the ferries on Maple Avenue.
Okay.
So our whole block's flooded, like, oh, is your block flooded? She's the block over.
Yeah, how'd you guys even get out of there? If it's a street I'm thinking of.
We had to walk down and someone picked us up. Like, we can't pull out of our driveways. There's trees down.
It's horrible. Yeah, I mean, you guys are relatively young. This is probably the first time you've ever seen anything like this, right?
I mean, we've had storms in the past, but I think not to this severity. I don't think so.
I know. And your families are okay?
Yeah, well, my dad is in New Jersey. He works for Path Transit, so he had to evacuate his job last night. But he's fine now. They had to, because the water got all in the tunnels, so they had to pump out all the water in the tunnels. So he won't be home for quite a while.
I know, we forget about that. You know, all the people that have to, like, look at you laughing. All the people that have to work out there. And so we're going to take another little shot up here and show you just how long this line is, and people just trying to get their coffee and get their donuts. And again, you know, people don't have power. I don't have power myself, so we know how this is. We're going to step back outside here because I don't want the manager to get angry at us for creating traffic issues here. He was nice enough to let us in the store. So let's get back out here. Let's talk to this woman. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah. What's going on at your house?
No power.
Yeah.
No phone, no heat, no lights.
Yeah.
So it's hard because I have a mom who's 96.
Oh, no.
So I'm hoping it'll come on soon because, you know, no heat.
Right. Right.
So
here you're just picking up some coffee?
Some hot coffee. We still have a stove that we can, you know, cook on the stove part, but not the oven.
Yeah.
You know, gas stove.
All right.
I think I saw you on when we had TV.
When you had TV. I know that's what everyone is saying. They say, I think we saw you on, and now, but hopefully we'll be back on soon, and we're still doing as much as we can to bring all the coverage.
Oh,
So
well,
thank
thanks
you for
so much.
watching.
Okay,
Thank you.
take care.
How you doing?
All right. I live on a boat a couple blocks away.
Exactly. You were on the boat last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, it was pretty wild last night. Yeah, so I got hung up once. I had to come out about 3:30 in the morning, push off, and then, you know, did what I had to do, retied.
Yeah.
It was tough, but I did it. I did it last year, too.
All right. And your boat's all right?
Well, it's fine. So you're better off staying on it so you can take care of it and, you know, do what you have to do.
There you go.
But I don't recommend it to people that don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Otherwise, it's death trap.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. What are you hearing from your fellow boat owners? I mean, is it just bad? I mean, what are you hearing from people?
Well, the problem now is the water's not leaving. You know, we got the tide going out, but the wind's keeping it in. That's the problem. That's the big problem.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Have you heard about a lot of damage to boats, or what are you hearing?
Yep, a lot of damage. You got one friend that had a boat in Islip, brand new 29-foot Sea Ray that just floated away. He was gone. That in the dock. Yeah, it was bad last night. It was real bad.
Yeah, I
know. You know?
All right. Well, thank you for
All right,
talking.
thank you. Have a good day, guys.
Yes, yes. Enjoy your coffee.